I want to tell you a story today, a memory that still makes my heart race whenever I recall it. It's often described as 40 Days of Hell, a chapter so dark, it became one of the most heart-shaking incidents in human history. In the quiet suburbs of Tokyo during the late 1980s, Japan was a country known for safety, community harmony, and strong cultural traditions. Crime rates were remarkably low compared to many other nations. Yet even in a society celebrated for order and respect, darkness sometimes hid in unexpected corners. Tonight, we revisit one of the most heartbreaking and widely discussed cases in Japan's modern history. A case that forever altered the way many viewed youth crime and justice. This is the story of Junko Furuta, a 17-year-old high school student whose tragic fate shook a nation. Before we begin, please note, while this story involves crime and suffering, we will tell it with respect and without graphic depictions. Our goal is to honor the memory of the victim, examine the events thoughtfully, and reflect on the lessons they leave behind. Junko Furuta was born in January 1971 and lived with her parents and younger brother in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, part of the greater Tokyo area. Friends and teachers described her as bright, polite, and hardworking. She wasn't only an excellent student, she was also determined to support her family. After school, she worked part-time at a plastic molding factory. Her goal was simple yet meaningful: to save enough money for her upcoming graduation trip, a milestone many Japanese students cherished as a celebration of their hard work. Junko was known for her natural beauty and kind nature, which made her popular among classmates. But popularity sometimes brought unwanted attention. Among those who noticed her was a young man connected to delinquent circles, a boy whose anger at rejection would soon spiral out of control. On a cool evening in late November 1988, Junko finished her shift at the factory and began her usual bicycle ride home. The streets of Misato were quiet, small shops were closing, and a winter breeze rustled the trees. She had done this ride countless times, thinking only of her family and her graduation trip. That night, however, she was unknowingly being watched. Two members of the local gang recognized her on the road. They saw an opportunity to act on old resentment. They staged a small accident, tipping over her bicycle to make it seem as though she had fallen. One of the boys, someone Junko recognized from her school days, approached her offering help. Because she knew him and he seemed concerned, she accepted his assistance. But instead of escorting her safely, he guided her toward a plan that had already been forming in his mind. At first, Junko might have believed this was just a small detour, but as the night went on, she realized she wasn't being taken home. She was instead being led into an unfamiliar situation, one that quickly became threatening. The boy made it clear, in a frightening way, that he had dangerous connections. Junko's fear that night marked the beginning of a tragic ordeal. What followed over the next weeks would later horrify investigators. But in this retelling, we will not linger on explicit harm. Instead, understand that she was kept against her will, mistreated, and subjected to cruelty that no human being should ever endure. Meanwhile, Junko's parents became worried when she did not return home. At first, they thought perhaps she was delayed, but as hours turned into the next day, their concern grew. They reported her missing to the local police. However, soon after, they received a phone call. To their shock, it was Junko's voice. She told them not to worry, that she was safe and had run away with a friend. She even asked them to cancel the missing persons report. For the next several weeks, the Furuta family lived in painful uncertainty. Friends and neighbors whispered theories, but no one knew where Junko really was. During this time, Junko was enduring unimaginable hardship. In a private home, she was being controlled and mistreated by the group. The environment was one of intimidation and fear. She had no safe way to call for help. Miyano instead took Furuta to an abandoned warehouse where he assaulted and hurt her. He told her that he had dangerous connections, knew where her family lived, and would harm them if she told the police. Miyano then took Furuta to a hotel where he, along with Minato, Joe Ogura, and Yasushi Watanabe, also abused her. They had recently done something similar to another girl. They took Furuta to Minato's parents' house and kept her there for 40 days. After 3 days missing, Furuta's mother was working with the police to try and find her. Her captors knew this and forced Furuta to call her parents to say she had run away and to not look for her. Due to poor treatment, Furuta became sick, which made the captors angry and they hurt her even more. They gave her very little to eat or drink and treated her cruelly. They would force her to be without proper clothing most of the time, put her in freezing conditions, and make her sleep outside in the cold. After 20 days, she could not walk. They continued to hurt her, causing serious injuries. During a night when her captors were drunk, Furuta tried to escape. She crawled downstairs and tried to call the police, but Miyano found her, took the phone, and told the police it was a wrong number. They continued to harm her severely. After a while, they no longer focused on her and targeted another victim. They continued using her for their cruel actions, even forcing her to perform degrading acts in front of others. On 4th January 1989, after losing a game, Minato and the others became angry and attacked her for 2 hours. Furuta went into shock and passed away the next day. Minato's brother phoned him to tell him of her death, so they rushed to the house. They put Furuta's body in a 55-gallon oil drum, filled it with concrete, and dumped the drum at a construction site in Koto. It is important to pause here and remember that behind these facts was a real young woman, a daughter, a friend, a classmate, who once dreamed of her future. On January 29, 1989, Tokyo police were interrogating several young men about a completely different crime, the kidnapping of another local teenager connected to gang activity. During questioning, the young men began to talk. What they revealed did not match the case the police were investigating. Instead, their statements pointed to another unrelated incident, one they seemed nervous to mention. Their details were oddly consistent, even though the police questioned them separately. Detectives realized that the story they were hearing might be connected to Junko Furuta's disappearance. They decided to follow up immediately. Police began tracing the information provided by the suspects. The clues led them to an industrial construction site in Koto Ward. Hidden among discarded materials was a heavy steel drum sealed with concrete. When officers opened it, they discovered human remains. The grim find confirmed their fears. Junko Furuta had been located, but far too late to save her. The discovery shocked even seasoned investigators. Japan was unaccustomed to crimes of such cruelty, especially involving teenagers. The news would soon spread, causing national outrage and sorrow. When Tokyo police confirmed the discovery of human remains inside a sealed concrete drum, the scene turned somber. Officers, forensic specialists, and investigators stood silently, aware that they had uncovered evidence of a long-missing teenager. News of the discovery began to circulate quietly within law enforcement before reaching the public. Forensic specialists began the painstaking process of identifying the victim. They compared dental records, analyzed personal items, and collected any remaining evidence. The results confirmed what the Furuta family feared most. The remains were Junko's. The family was devastated. They had clung to hope that their daughter might still return home. Now that hope was replaced by unimaginable grief. The case became a touchstone for discussions on how Japan should handle violent crimes committed by minors. Politicians, legal scholars, and educators referenced it for years as an example of the challenges facing modern society. In the end, the court handed down what many considered light sentences. They were not charged with murder, but instead with causing bodily injury resulting in death. Hiroshi was sentenced to 17 years, which was later increased to 20 after an appeal. Minato received 5 to 7 years, Watanabe received 9 years, and Joe received 8 years. Along with these prison terms, financial compensation was ordered for Junko's family. To many citizens, the punishments felt insufficient compared to the gravity of the crime, and critics argued that the juvenile justice system needed reform to balance rehabilitation with accountability. After being released, Minato changed his name to Shinji and was later arrested for the attempted murder of a businessman. As we close this chapter, let us honor Junko's memory by remembering her humanity and the injustice she endured. May her story remind us to stand against cruelty and to cherish compassion in our world.